Hello YouTubers, I'm out here in front of my shop today trying to figure out what I'm going to use for my next walking stick. Now, I have several here that's been drying out, been over a year. This is the oldest, all the way down this way to the freshly cut ones on this side of the building. So now I noticed this one here, fairly straight stick, and it's going to be cut down to whatever size diameter I want anyway. But you see, as stated in an earlier video, walking sticks for beginners or whatever, I'm going to have a link down below or up above somewhere here for that. But for the beginning walking stickers, I kind of talked a little about this. But you see, I have one of them, the bark is just peeling off my hand. That's a good sign that that one is ready to be processed. And that bark will just pop right off of there, leaving some nice wood ready to be sanded. Now, today something caught my eye here, and I'd imagine this is hickory, I'm not for sure. But I saw this little fork in this top. Now this thing grew out, I guess it was a limb coming out this way, but from the bottom of it this way, so it don't taper in that direction. But this is big enough for nice comfortable hand right here, so I can grind that taper down to that end. This is going to be a thumbstick. I haven't made one of them yet. Very comfortable grip right here in the top, and it's just about the right length right there. Anyway, we're going to polish that up, and then I'm going to put some kind of decoration on it down here. Stay with me and we'll see what this turns out to be. Outdoors here this morning. It's about the middle of June here, and beautiful day. And I have my positive pressure hood on. I have an aggressive grinder on this angle grinder. And you see I have the fork already in the jaw horse here. We're gonna prep the bark off of this and get it roughed down to shape. So I'm gonna put this hood down and we're gonna get with it right now. Move that camera down where you can see the bottom part of this stick. Okay, I think we can see it now. Start working on the diameter that I want here, and then it's going to taper from here down to that. I had the bottom part of it now all skinned, and I got it skinned all the way around up the top. I'll show you this other grinder. It has a sanding disc on it. That's overlap sandpaper. This is about 120 grit. And I'm gonna go down now and you'll see me remove most of this underbark. We're gonna continue the taper a little bit more on this end. Well, let's see what it looks like. Get the hood back on. Got to keep in mind as you're doing this that you're making a walking stick from a stick that you picked up out of the woods. It's not going to be perfect. You're not working with a dowel rod that's been turned perfectly around on a machine. You're not going to have that. Now they do some excellent work with those. Don't get me wrong, I'm not belittling that at all. That's just not what I do. But if you're working with sticks from the wood, you work with what the wood gives you. Okay, let's take a look at this now. Most of the inner bark is gone, and I have this roughed out, and you see how it tapers as it goes down. Oh, it's down to 3/4 at that end, tapers up slightly, goes right on up the stick, and it gets bigger as you go up. And then we have our thumbstick started. Let's get in the house there, or get in the shop, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with the design. Okay, here we are in the shop. Got my little sander, orbital sander, and I'm going to take a 220 off of it for right now. And we're going to try some 150 grit to start with. So let me see. I may use this other sander, and I think I do have 150 on it. So let's go ahead and do some 150 on this one. Then I'll go to the 220. I don't have to really switch it. It's got a new 220 on it. So let's see how slick we can get this thing. Okay, let's look at the difference in this stick now. If you remember, I showed you what this looked like when we started. Now, all the way down, and you got to remember that we had to taper this end. It goes all the way down to a nice taper, all the way up to this fork, which is why we call it the thumbstick. You want to be sure and get all this with the orbital sander that you can, because what you don't get here in the middle has to be sanded by hand. Keep that in mind. Get to every little crick and cranny as you can. It feels pretty good all the way down. I'm going to go to 220 and go over the entire surface. It'll be ready for finish then. Let's get to finishing up on this sanding, and then we'll be back and decide what our next move is going to be. Well, now you see I'm getting all prepped up here to put on some oak stain, and I have a little rag, piece of old t-shirt here ready. I have this all pre-dusted, and it's sanded off very slick. And I wanted to round these ends off, and that's about all you have to do to it. I'm going to go ahead and put some stain on it now, so in a few hours we should be able to put the finish on it, which I want to do as soon as possible. I'm not sure it's oak. The bark looked a lot like oak, but the young oak saplings look different than the older trees, so it's just hard to tell sometimes. But I still kind of believe it's oak, but I'm not positive. So I won't make that absolute statement. And I have a few check marks down on the stick, but after I get all done sanding and I see that, I like to leave it because that just adds character to the stick. I like to get them fairly straight and they're sturdy. See, I've already got the eye hook so I can hang these at any point that I feel necessary. I'm just going to leave that lay right there now. We're going to let that dry for about 4 hours, and then I'll show you what I got in mind for the decoration. Finish on this is going to be a little different. I use the Krylon Crystal Clear, and it's very good and durable. And what I do is just give it a nice coat all the way down. I turn it, give it all the way down again. And I've gotten all the way around this now. I can take it to my back room. I'll hang it up on this hooks and I'll let it dry. Okay, I'm going to start out here with my paracord wrap. Now what I want to do is find about 3 inches and about where the top of that wrap is going to start. And then I'm going to put a loop right through the thumbstick there to hold it up out of the way. But there's a slight crook in the stick right there, a slight bend, so that'd be a good point to start the wrap. So for whatever reason, you start it right there, is I have one loop here. This loop, then I'm going to continue down here, and I'm going to make another loop and hold it right there with my thumb. So now I have the end of the paracord, loop up, and then loop down. The only reasoning behind this is to have this loop longer than what your wrap is going to be, because that's going to be used to pull the tail end of the paracord back through your rope. I don't think it's going to be quite that long, So let's just take a little of that up. See, we end up with 3 strands going up, back down, and back up again. This is going to start your wrap, and it's going to come over. Once you get it started, it'll be a lot easier. See there? That is locked that in. There's your strand coming up, down, back up, and then you start looping around. That ties this in as you go down. Just continue wrapping. That'll curl up. It wants to kink up, so you'll have to pull the kinks out of it every once in a while. Keep on wrapping. If you get this too tight, you won't be able to pull this loop back through. That pigtail or the tail end, that loose end that you had down, that's covered up now. In an emergency situation out in the wild, 10 foot of this paracord could save your life. Be used to make a snare with, could be used to tie a little food up in a tree. Lots of uses. Would help you survive. You can't cover your loop up completely or this won't work. Fast approaching the end of this. Now that's about all I want to take. I'm going to get some cutoff pliers here. Okay, I got my pliers. I can cut this off and stick it back through that loop. So I'm going to try it right there. Now, as I'm coming around, I'm just going to stick that up in there. Okay, now we got that. I want to make sure that stays in that loop. I'm pulling this back, and that gets, when I pull this in, that gets this tighter right here. That pulls that down in there. Now with that dead end there, I'm going to get a hold of this paracord, and as you pull, I want you to watch what happens to this. As I pull this up, that loop got right up in there. And I'm going to pull that up snug now as I can. And as I pull this end of the loop, it's going to pop that up under there and pull this completely up in there. Okay, let's pull it. There's a little more. Okay, there it is. That is locked under there. That loose end now goes around and goes right back up under that. And that's a real snug wrap there. This end here you have for your wrist strap, and it is completely knotless there, and that's one single piece of paracord. To get that loose, just take your knife or whatever you have with you, you pull that tail end out, and it'll unwind. That gives you about 15 foot of paracord. That's a good grip right there. Time to turn this all around, kind of see in more detail what it looks like. Okay, YouTubers, I guess that's about it for another walking stick. This one happens to be a more commonly known as a thumbstick. And the reason that's called a thumbstick is you just put your thumb right in there. And look how comfortable that is, either way you want to go. Right there, and you handle it that way. The thumb goes right in that fork and gives you a good grip on the stick. Don't normally put a wrist strap on a thumbstick, but I like to hang mine up on the hat rack just coming in the cabin door, and it gives you something to hang it on, if nothing else, just like that. There's many uses for a thumbstick. This is just a little pellet gun. It's not very mean at all. Look what the steady rest that would be. You can go right over that and get right on your target before you shoot. So it's a steady rest for your rifle, shotgun, whatever you have. Now that's just a few of the uses. If you can think of more uses for this, let me know in the comments. And I won't mention all that I've found or think of. But another one I'll throw in there is a snake catcher. What you can do, get out the end of this stick with your snake, and he's got his head there. You just put that fork right down against that, push that right down in the dirt, and you got him. His head is trapped right in there. You can do one of two things. Myself, I would not kill that snake. You could take and fling it like this way away from you. Guarantee you he won't come after you. You'll be glad he got away. Pretty soon now, I'm gonna step up my videos and try to get back to having one a week on here. Help by keeping Susan in your prayers, and click that subscribe button if you like my videos. It sure helps me out a lot. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. I'd appreciate that as well. Just one thing remains to be said. That is, I'll see you in the next video.